All right, everyone. Excuse me. Do pardon me. I might be starting a new trend here
You're at 109 right now.
by reminiscing about the Instagram feed and the Instagram, you know, uh, timeline because I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to reminisce and talk about my experiences as they're represented in Instagram to give you some greater detail about, what happened. All right. And so we're going to start here. My Instagram page is called iSee109 or iSee109 All right, I have a couple of iSee109 accounts. One that is iSee109, and then the other one is iSee109 This is actually the very first Instagram post. It's my personal Instagram post account. The iSee109 is geared to reflect the my brand, the brand of iSee109, and that started. I started that probably in 2021, maybe. I'll have to be accurate. I'll have to look at that account and then check out the very first post. Anyhow, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start at this post. It looks like I posted this on January 24th, 2019. So this is going to be a walk down memory lane in 2019 for me, all right? So we start off with this picture here. This was taken at an automobile museum somewhere near Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach or something, or El Segundo, rather. El Segundo, I think that's where it is. So by 2019, I had already had a number of moments where I had found these numbers 109, and unlike not unlike many of those moments, here I was at the museum and I found a license plate with 109 on it, and I thought, oh man, those are my numbers. Let me take a picture and vibe out, right? And so basically, I was in my own little world, just walking around the museum, admiring the cars when I stumbled upon that license plate and I thought it would be cool, you know, to follow my tradition of taking pictures of 109 whenever I encounter them. So it was like, whatever, kind of like a good omen, like, yo, this is pretty cool. I didn't read anything into it. I didn't read much into it. I just thought it was one of those cool moments. And I thought it was worth posting to my Instagram, of course, because I mean, what else? What else do I post, really? I post about myself and my experiences, and this was another one of them. So it was whatever. I could have given more information about the car, but it was just an old car. See, it says license plate, historical vehicle, yada yada yada. It was what it was. But notice in the picture how I'm dressed. I'm wearing like a Rastafarian button up shirt, and I bought that shirt in Ethiopia. So yeah, it's 2019. I had already been to Ethiopia. In fact, by 2019, I had been to Ethiopia a number of times, probably four times, and yeah, I I did not I have not returned to Ethiopia, but only for a layover, one that I had in 2022, last year. So the last time I was in Ethiopia for an extended amount of time, I think it was like probably a long layover, like 16 hours or something. That was in 2018. And then I was there in Ethiopia again in 2022, last year for a layover. Anyhow, that shirt I'm wearing, I bought that in Ethiopia. That's my Rasta shirt. So I was already I already had my Ethiopian experience. I was already thinking differently about Ethiopia, about looking natural, about growing my beard out and feeling comfortable in my own skin, because Ethiopia had taught me, you're a black man, be proud of it, and don't worry about anything else. And I was on that tip. So yeah, my education, my travel adventure and education had really resonated, had really saturated me, had really it sunk in, and it was becoming, me. I was vibing. All right, so here's a car. Let me see. Let me check which way I need to go, which direction. Knowledge is better than riches. Yeah, I posted that because I wanted to talk about my travels. I didn't have a lot of money, but still I had traveled the world, so that my knowledge was better than our riches. And all right, so this was later, right? Okay. Oh, okay, so we're going back in time. Okay, we're moving into the future as I go in this direction, I believe. Yeah. Okay, we're moving into the future as I go to the left. As I click to the left, we're going into the future. All right, so this is the next picture I posted. Once again, I'm at this automobile museum. The reason I was there, my mother and father were on a photo shoot, and they needed some old, fresh cars to stand next to, and we went to that museum. And this is one of the cars that caught my eye. All right, so January 28th, I was preparing for a new job in Oman. I left Saudi Arabia in 2018, and after Saudi Arabia, I came back and traveled to Washington, D.C., to Nevada to visit family, and then I flew to Costa Rica where I stayed for about 3 weeks, and then I moved on to Panama, and then from Panama I went to Colombia, and from Colombia I came back to America. So I did a lot of traveling, but after a few months of traveling, I had to get back to working. And this is the Omani flag, which represents my next journey, the next chapter in my life, traveling to Oman. Excuse me. On January 28th, I posted this picture. This is the first picture I posted to Instagram upon my arrival in Oman. All right. So this is the desert of Oman. I got a picture. I've got the sun's rays in the picture. I have the mountainous terrain. I have the ground, the rocky terrain. Very much looks like it could possibly be Mars, with the exception of those trees out there and that building off to the left over here. That's a building. Anyhow, this is where I was living. This is exactly what it looked like when I stepped outside and looked at my backyard, just like this. This is Oman. In particular, this is the city of Nizwa. This is where the story that I want to tell is set, in Nizwa. Okay. I was having some fun, little silhouette with my hand, little hand puppet or what have you, in the evening, with the backdrop of the evening sky. I was standing on the roof of a home that was being rented by one of my friends from Korea, and who was a teacher in Korea, but at that time she was a teacher in Oman, and I was living with her. She had a 5-bedroom mansion, and I asked to rent out one of the rooms, and she was like, "Sure." Man, a 5-bedroom mansion to herself, to herself. And I don't know. Did I mention I'm drinking Ethiopian Ambo water? I learned about this and I drank this for the first time when I was in Ethiopia. And when I came back to Los Angeles, I discovered that in Little Ethiopia, on Fairfax Boulevard, you can get some Ambo water, just like the water I drank in Addis Ababa. So I said, man, I need to have some of this. Just for clarity, let's just for some details. I went to Ethiopia. I arrived in Ethiopia for the first time on March 31st, 2017. Just putting that out there. All right, so what's next? Excuse me. All right, so I was fascinated with the night sky above Oman. I believe I'm looking at, I don't know, Mars and Venus and the moon and maybe another planet over there. I don't know. The sky was beautiful, and I spent many a night over the 7 months that I lived in Nizwa, Oman, staring into the sky. And this is indicative of that. So we're already what? This is on my second night, 2 days in Oman. All right. A few days later, I went walking around the house and around my my friend's home, and I noticed the jawbone of an ass. I believe that's the jawbone of an ass, which comes to mind like that is a musical instrument, as well as the title of a Jean-Michel Basquiat work of art, Jawbone of an Ass. Or at least he wrote that. Jean-Michel Basquiat wrote that in his artwork. Now, when I posted this picture, I wasn't thinking about Jean-Michel Basquiat. I was just thinking, dude, I'm in the desert. That's the jawbone of an animal, right? Now, you know what? Let me clarify. That's probably not the jawbone of an ass. That's probably the jawbone of a goat. You dig? So, but what comes to mind is jawbone of an ass from the title or the words written on a work of art. I'm gonna put that work of art here so you can see it. So I'm not just talking. Jawbone of an ass, Jean-Michel Basquiat. All right, let's keep it moving. Oh, this is my friend, and let's see, colleague. Yeah, because although we didn't work together, we never worked together. Um, she was she worked in South Korea at the same time that I worked there, and she worked in Nizwa or Oman at the same time. So she was very quite helpful. This is Heather. Heather was very helpful. Um, but she's a boss, so she has to have her things right. So when it comes to the apartment, she was like, you know, she the thing about Heather was she had to have her privacy. She was like, I'm not living where the company that hired us wants us to live. She had to have her own home, her own apartment. And it just so worked out that she was able to get and able to afford a 5 bedroom mansion, right? The Omanis are really rich. The Omanis have their properties, and they don't occupy these properties, so they have to rent them out. And so Heather was a renter. So she made an arrangement with the homeowner to rent out their apartment or rent out their home, their massive home, and she had room to spare, and that was cool. So Heather helped me out because when I arrived in Oman, I only knew Heather, and then Heather introduced me to her friends, and so that was a very cool transition. So the point being, when there's an international network, you got to tap that network because that's your support group. And I guess I have to mwah to Heather. You know, she calls her friends, what, honeybees, honey buns, honeybees, you know. So Heather is the sweetest and awesome, biggest heart, but she's a boss. She's a boss, She will, she Heather is something else. She was calling the shots back in South Korea. She was like organizing events, and we like groups of like 12 of us were rolling with Heather. Like she was like, "This is what we're doing on this weekend. Come join us. We're gonna party. Let's go." And we did it. All right, so that's enough about that. Yeah. At this time, iPhone introduced the portrait, and so I was, using the portrait to snap some photos. I was like, Heather, let me get some photos of you because I think I'm a photographer. You dig? And Heather was like, okay, do your thing, Mr. Photographer. I said, all right, cool. This is a picture. This is where my mind was. This is where my mind was. My mind was on my trip to Washington, D.C., and Carter G. Woodson. After learning about him and seeing representation statues of him in Washington, D.C., I was all about Carter G. Woodson, the miseducation of the Negro. So I really wanted to, get my mind right. And so I had to salute. I had to salute him by, paying homage with that post. All right, so we this was at a party. I was with the Black American women professionals internationally at a party in Oman. Okay, and we were hanging out, and these are some of the sisters who were there. Good vibes all around. Right, beautiful sisters at that too. You dig? All right, one of the sisters right here took a photo with her. Oh yeah, man, it was all good. We were at the Park Inn by Radisson Muscat. Just good times, doing my thing. You dig? What is this? I ate this in Oman. Huh. Okay. I guess we went to I can't guess. I know that we did. We went to a Korean restaurant. I believe the only Korean restaurant in Oman. And I ordered this meal of jjajangmyeon or black noodles, right? All right. This meal usually, I believe, is cooked with pork, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there was chicken in it, but because we were in Oman, which is a Muslim country, I doubt there was pork in this meal. But I'm not certain, so just a little tidbit. That was a good meal. I still have this book. This is one of my mom and dad's books, Black Rage, written by William H. Greer, the father of actor comedian David Allen Greer, whom I studied martial arts with in Los Angeles. I took the book with me because when I realized or when I learned that David Allen Greer's father wrote it, I was like, I got to read this book. I read a few pages of it, maybe a chapter. I haven't completed it, but I was intrigued with it. So this is another example of how I was getting my mind right. These black books, the subject of being black. I was also learning about the Arab world, and Oman was the nation of an Arabian princess. And this book is one that I picked up and I wanted to read. I actually bought a copy in Spanish because I wanted to read the book in Spanish. I wanted to improve my Spanish, right? That's always been the case. That's always been my MO. Improve your Spanish. I was introduced to Spanish when I was in middle school. No, when I was in elementary school, third grade, we started learning Spanish. And I always felt remiss because I hadn't utilized my Spanish skills or ability. So, anyway, I tried to do that. I'm always a fan of Jean-Michel Basquiat. I've been a fan since 2005. This is just a picture just to show people like, hey, I'm still a fan of Jean-Michel Basquiat. This is a picture I found of him that I hadn't seen before, so I was like, yo, let me post this. This is an example of what the Omani, this is a stylish, rich Omani shoe. Yeah. Steven's comment. That's a baller's shoe. Steven knows the Muslim culture, and so he knows that sandals. That's what the Muslims wear, and this is a very stylish sandal right here. This whoever wears this sandal isn't playing. This is a few $100s worth, of shoe right here. of fine leathers to make, a shoe. I took a trip to a local fort, got some culture in, sightseeing. The thing about my travels is I was eager to see new things. Excuse me. And so I pushed myself. When I got to Oman, I made sure I had a car. I made sure I was mobile and that I was independent. And so for the short few months that I was there, about 7 months, I traveled quite a bit throughout Oman. I did quite a bit of traveling. I did a lot more than I think some of my colleagues had done over a number of years living in Oman. And that's just what it was. And one of the first places I visited, like the first weekend I had, was this fort, Bala Fort. All right, here are some photos from the Bala Fort. I'm gonna try to move quickly through here. Still at the Bala Fort, fascinating place. I'm testing out the portrait mode on the camera, trying to get some good some good images, some good photos, good representations of myself. This is another one of my colleagues, Philippa, and we worked in Korea. She was actually one of my colleagues. We worked together in at the university in Korea. She and I traveled to the festival, the Omani festival, and I snapped some photos. I learned that you're not supposed to take photos of Omani women, and I did get a couple of photos of Omani women, and my students in Oman told me, "Oh, you have to delete those photos, take them down." So I just posted that picture, and because you can't fully see that woman's face. So these are Omani men at the festival. All right, all right. Some more Omani men, cooking a goat, I believe, over rocks, over a rock fire, hot rocks. All right, this is the Muscat Festival. It's the international festival, and here you have some, I believe, some Indian or maybe Pakistani men or what have you. And these gentlemen, well, we have an extremely tall man, and then we have an Indian or a Pakistani man who looks like Mr. Bean. It's fascinating, that you can find some, people who. Isn't that interesting? I wonder what that guy's life is like. He looks in the mirror and he's like, "Whoa, I'm Mr. Bean." Like I look just like Mr. Bean. Like, wow. But whatever. We found apple pies in Oman. The U.S. Embassy was handing out apple pies. That's why I took this photo. The U.S. Embassy was passing out apple pies as if, the apple pie represented American culture. I mean, American as apple pie, right? That's what that was about. It was kind of cheesy and lame, I thought, but it was like whatever. Yeah, it was McDonald's. All right, so then we took a trip to the Intercontinental Muscat. That's a really swanky hotel, and it was also near the tiki bar. What was that thing? Vic's, Trader Vic's. There's a Trader Vic's in Oman at the Intercontinental Muscat Hotel. While we were there was an African festival going on. African artist, I believe a famous Ghanaian artist, Ali Kiba, was performing or something like that. So here we are inside the Intercontinental Muscat, just, checking it out, seeing what all they have to offer. Stylish stuff. Look at those rooms. Those were paintings on the wall to make it look like those are rooms, but those are just paintings. There are rooms up there, of course. But anyway, this is something that I thought was interesting. These are CPR dolls, and they are brown, so they were made to fit the color of the population, the people. So basically, Omanis are brown people, and it was cool that their CPR dummies reflected a sensitivity to the I don't know, the complexion, the hue of the majority of the people. You know, if you're in America, then you're more than likely going to have some white pale skin stuff, whatever. Heather and I were at this festival. No, 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 not Heather. Philippa and I were at this festival, and Philippa noticed this sign, and she got a kick out of this. She was like, "Look, if you wear a Tupac T-shirt, they don't want you wearing Tupac images or whatnot." And it says religious and social value breaching on shirts, so they don't want you doing that. In fact, what I learned in Saudi Arabia is that having an image, having a person's face or some image on your shirt, is prohibited, you know, and they won't allow you in to enter malls or do other things if you have an image of a person's face on your clothing or something like that. In addition to the Tupac's image, this person also has tattoos, which is another thing that is like frowned upon in Middle Eastern countries, but also in Asian countries as well. If you're heavily tattooed, in Japan, for instance, they will not allow you to enter some restaurants or some amusement parks, or especially not the spa. They will not let you in the spa where you have to remove your clothes and show your tattoos and whatever. This is an example of what it was like driving through Nizwa, or rather driving through Oman. There were just these massive mountains, right, jutting up from Earth. Let's see. I made my way to another fort, or is this the same day? I don't know. Whatever. All right, then I went to the Kempinski Hotel in Muscat, a swanky, expensive hotel. I was with my friend, my former colleague, Philippa. She was snapping photos. She was annoyed. I remember she was annoyed. She was like, "You want me to take a photo of you? What?" I was like, "Please?" She was like, "Yeah." She snapped this photo for me as well. Then we met these people. I was hungry for some, regular food, some LA stuff. And this is bomba burrito, which I ate. And I, yeah, I didn't particularly care for it. It was some of the worst Mexican food I had had, but I mean, it was the closest thing to authentic Mexican food I could get all the way out in the desert. And I kind of felt like, man, shame on you guys. The guy who's waving, and I believe this woman over here, they're both from Mexico or Mexico, but their like tacos were like terrible, and the burritos were just okay. Yeah, and they're from Sinaloa. So I was like, how is it that a Mexican restaurant is able to open up in Oman? And then when she told me that they were from Sinaloa, I was like, oh, maybe Sinaloa drug cartel money is feeding into this, because it couldn't have been a booming business. It could not have attracted so much money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, either a year per month. It was just mind boggling to me. I'm like, how are these people staying alive? How are they paying their bills? They don't even have that many customers coming in. They might have like what seemed like 10 customers in a day. 10. And I was one of them. But anyway, yeah. So I thought I was doing my thing by trying to promote their business, but whatever. They had the jarritos. They had horchata. I wasn't drinking both. I think the horchata was my drink, and then the jarritos was my friend's drink, was Philippa's drink, so my colleague. But they had everything. It was pretty authentic, which was nice. Yeah. Yeah, see the rice, that rice was trash, was not delicious at all. But to have beans, rice, and some cilantro and some onions and some chicken and ooh, yeah, I was happy to have all of that. But that rice just wasn't hitting at all. So we're moving around a bit more. All right. Now we're at the school where I taught, okay? We're at the school and here's what happened. February 12th, I took this picture. That's the entrance of the school. Oh, I took another trip. I was tired. Did I go back to the fort twice? No, I think I just stylized this. I just got a stylized image. But this is a photo that I took from the festival. But we're going back in time because you know whatever. Where the heck did I find that? A sunflower. I don't remember where I found this one. This was on the campus. This was on the school campus. That's where this was. On the school campus, right from the parking lot. This was the most bizarre, sight. A sunflower with seeds in it right there. Phew, that was crazy. All right, this is a book, one that I wanted to read and wanted to remember reading. So I posted this picture just to remind me because this guy William Ellis, I met one of his relatives in 2018. I met him in Little Ethiopia, and I wanted to remember the book, so I posted it to Instagram to remind me. Here's a closer image of it. All right, so now I went to where the heck is this? This is Pizza Hut, I believe. No, this isn't Pizza Hut. This was some restaurant in a local mall, and basically I was eating McDonald's every day that I was there for the first few months. At least for 1 month, I was eating McDonald's every day, and this is another option and it just looks terrible. Oh, this was at the local. Yeah. Okay, not far from Heather's home, there was this small restaurant. It was small gas station and cafe, and we would go there in the mornings to pick up some coffee before driving into work. I rode with Heather. She had a nice car, and so anyway, we would go in here, and they would serve. They had these things on the menu, and I had to take a picture of it because I thought, who in their right mind is gonna make some crazy stuff like this? A beef pizza burger? Like, no, thank you. By this time that I was in Oman, I had already been to France, and I had already been on Ricky Stevenson's trip, the Paris tours, and Josephine Baker was on my mind, so I had to salute her. This is American surgeon Vivian Thomas. I watched his story. Most Def played him years ago, but he was a proud, powerful, black man, and I wanted to give him, salute. Oh, it's February 2019 when I'm making these posts. So these are black figures I wanted to remember, so I posted them. My man, John Charles Robinson. There would not be Ethiopian Airlines were it not for this man. So these are people I was thinking of, and I posted it as a representation of Black History Month. This is a stylized image, one that I thought was cool, just to get a picture of the demarcations on the roads in Oman. We got the little checkered curb. We've got the single solitary yellow line, and then this dashed line all on the road. So you get some different asphalt, tar, gravel, different stuff, stylized stuff. So I guess in February we took a trip to Abu Dhabi. We drove to Abu Dhabi, I think so, because this is the Ibn Battuta Mall, which is located in Abu Dhabi, right? Or is it Dubai? No, it's located in Dubai. This is located in Dubai. And so I was just taking some pictures when I went there. More pictures from the Ibn Battuta Mall. Just wanted see. I was because I was traveling the world so much. I had someone to whose life mirrored mine, and it was Ibn Battuta. And I was like, "Yo, I am the modern version of Ibn Battuta." Right? Ibn Battuta was this dude, Muslim dude who traveled the world, you know, and yeah, he traveled the world when traveling wasn't like he was a special dude because he traveled. Let's put it like that. And you had other travelers from other parts of the globe. Of course, you know Christopher Columbus, maybe Vasco da Gama, and Hernan Cortez, and Pizarro, conquistadors, and travelers, explorers. But from the Arab world, there are few names of explorers who are as important as or significant as Ibn Battuta. Now, the thing that I didn't know, or the thing that most people don't know about Ibn Battuta, is like he's actually quite popular and well known among certain circles. And so I felt as if I was moving into a different circle, of knowledge, of information, because I was exposed to who this figure was, this historic figure. So I thought that was cool. And so they have a mall in Dubai. I went to it and I was like impressed by all the stuff I saw, because everything at the mall was a representation of his travels. So here he is. This is the China section of the mall because Ibn Battuta traveled to China. See, the travels of Ibn Battuta. Starbucks is right back here. This is right here. 1,000 years of knowledge rediscovered. Yep. So I was in Dubai because I guess I had to process my visa or something. I had to take a trip outside of Oman for some reason. I don't know. I forgot. But I was there for a few days. The company, I don't think the company reimbursed me, but what happened? Maybe the company did. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember at this moment right now, but this is the view from the rooftop of the hotel where I was staying in Dubai. Yeah. I didn't like to stay indoors. I wanted to go on rooftops. And they had a bar up there, or they had a swimming pool up top. And so I enjoyed that. Here I am staring at the sky, enjoying the moon and the clouds in the sky. I went to the fort and I actually took a photo of this young man. Again, I was using the photo. What was I using? What the heck is that called? The the portrait. I was using the portrait view, trying to get some National Geographic like images and whatnot. This is the Oman that I remember. I mean, it's still like that. Here I am with a little trick shot holding the moon in my between my thumb and index finger. I was trying to support a friend, so there was this event going on, and this woman is a yogi. She's a yoga instructor, and I wanted to give her some light support, whatever. Oman is the coolest country because you can go there. Alcohol, you can consume, imbibe alcohol. They had Cuban cigars, so I was out there in the desert admiring the views, relaxing, smoking cigars, and drinking rum, drinking my Cuba Libres or just rum cokes. I started to figure out, or I learned about this. The pyramids were built in alignment with the stars. I learned about that because and I need to remember this because as above, so below. That is one of the, that is one of the principles I need to share with people when I'm talking about
You're at 109 right now.
109, as above, so below. I've got to remember this, that the pyramids were constructed to match the celestial bodies in the sky. Man, I thought I would get further along, but there are so many pictures. This is another mall. It was beautiful in Oman. What is this? Oh, okay. I had gone to this is the entrance. This is the museum. I mean the hotel. I guess I took these photos and then I'm going back in time. Like there was something interesting that I wanted to highlight. I made a mistake. It says Intercontinental Muscat, and that's not where this photo was taken. This was taken at the Balha Fort. I remember this. My point was, you know, you make one cut, and then you make that cut again. You do it again, and then you just keep doing it. You do it over and over and over again. This is a door, an Omani door, right? I was trying to promote my website. This is the Ibn Battuta Mall. More skylines. A student painted me or drew a picture of me, drew my hair. I had a little afro and I had a beard and a mustache. And he's like, "You are Mr. Larry. Here you are." I'm like, "All right, dude." What the heck was this? Someone who reads Arabic should read it and tell me. Went to the fort on February 27th. I did a lot of traveling. I went to the fort and I was using that portrait mode for photographs. This was a black man, a black Omani man, and I was like, "Dude, I gotta take your photo." He was like, "Of course." This was an older gentleman, you know, a brown Omani man. Here I am at the fort doing my thing. More pictures from the fort. I made a trip to Abu Dhabi's Louvre Museum, February 28th, the end of Black History Month. I was traveling, y'all. This is in Abu Dhabi. So I went from Abu Dhabi to Dubai to Oman and back. Like, man, I was traveling at the Abu Dhabi Louvre. Oh, man, this is some beautiful historic stuff right here. The Egyptians, the Sumerians, and my man, Jean-Michel Basquiat. Yep. All right, this video is pretty long. I'm going to have to... Nah, we're just going to have to keep it rolling, keep it going.
You're at 109 right now.
Boom. All right, here we go. Well, now we're going to get into it, y'all. March 3rd. March 3rd, I was thinking. My mind was on Ethiopia because my feed, my Instagram feed, or maybe Facebook, I don't know what it was, but I got wind of the Battle of Adwa. I was reminded. People I knew were telling me, you know, in Ethiopia they're celebrating the Battle of Adwa, and I was happy about that. That I was happy that I had this book, that I had gotten a copy of it, and I was reading it because I was trying to further my knowledge, get deeper into it. This was on my mind, y'all. Ethiopia, the history. So there I was in the desert of Oman. I had my book. I had the ISIS papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. I had Panther Baby by Jamal Joseph. I had a book about the Panthers. I had Richard Aoki's book, Samurai Among Panthers. Man, I was deep into my black identity stuff, but not on some foolishness. I'm on some educate yourself, read these books, learn some things, you dig? And then I did something foolish. I was driving this truck and I drove it up the mountain, and the security who lets you into the park, they say, "Hey man, your truck has to be up to speed, up to snuff. It's got to be in top shape in order to travel up the mountain." And I was like, "Oh, it's a Nissan Xterra. It'll be fine." I get up the mountain and it's an old truck and it clunks out on me. It hasn't been serviced in a long time and it dies on the mountain. And I need to be rescued. And one of my colleagues came to rescue me, and it was just an embarrassing moment. I actually left the truck up there, and then I was renting the truck from a friend, and he went up there to retrieve the truck, and it was just a whole debacle. I had to have my independence. I had to travel, y'all. I had to. So, all right. So March 10th. So I went from feeling excited about and prideful about Ethiopia's victory over the Italians in the Battle of Adwa. That's what that book was about that I showed a few slides back. Let's go back to that. Here, the Ethiopians defeated the Italians. The Ethiopians were never colonized by, a European power. They were occupied for I believe 5 years, but they were never colonized. They didn't lose their culture, didn't lose their language, their identity. No, they defeated the Italians. Okay, and so that was a prideful, historic event, one that resonated with me and that I reveled in at the beginning of this month. And then news hit us that Ethiopian Airlines airline flight crashed, and so my emotions went from elation and pride to just sadness and devastation because of this airlines crash. So the week passed, and that was just devastating news, and my mind was clearly focused on Ethiopia. And then in the desert one day, I had this. I had bought these blue shoes with these blue laces, not because I prefer the color blue, but because this was the only shoe that they had in my size, and it just happened to be this color. And when you're wearing new sneakers, you don't want anything to happen to them. But along came this goat here, and the goat scuffed my shoes. It stood. It approached me and stepped on my shoe. The doggone goat. There were a bunch of goats in the neighborhood. I guess it was I it was kind of my fault because I was out there trying to take pictures of these goats. Like, hey, when do I ever see goats, in the wild, or in someone in my neighborhood? So I was like, let me take some photos of these goats and share them on Instagram. And this goat approaches and steps on my shoe, and I'm just like, no, this goat didn't. So anyway, that happened. That date right there was March 18th. One thing to note is that as I was posting these pictures, Oman versus Los Angeles, Oman is 11 hours ahead of Los Angeles time. So in some of these cases, even though it says March 18th, I might have posted them on March 19th, the day after. I was already in that day, but according to Instagram's timeline, it was a day later or a day before. I hope yeah, I hope that's clear. I was ahead. I was living in the future, but the posts were coming in the past. Let's say that. Hey, look at my apartment, right? I had a I had a staircase in my apartment. Look at that, how clean it was. At least this room, right? Well, I mean, the whole place was empty. I lived out of one room, which had the air conditioning in it. I tried living in a different room, but it was too hot, and I had to move into the only room that had an AC. But I had I had three bedrooms. I had a three-bedroom mansion all to myself, right? And this was an air mattress I had blown up, so I would have another area, another place to sleep, because this marble floor here, oh man, that was completely uncomfortable, right? There's this staircase that led to the roof. Got to have roof access to get on top of those buildings and look out into the stars and all of that. I had a little stool, set my little laptop here so I would have access to the internet, and then have my ironing board so I can clean my clothes and stuff. Yep. All right. With Spike Lee, "Do the Right Thing" was on my mind because when that goat stood on my foot and messed up my shoes, I felt like bugging out from "Do the Right Thing." Yeah. This is interesting. One day I was reading that book, Panther Baby by Jamal Joseph. Right here, I had two Oreos sitting on my stomach. I was, have a bit of a sweet tooth. I had a foot infection On my right foot, there was a an infection. My foot was in pretty bad shape, and I put some ointment. I put some burn cream on my foot. I cleaned my foot with iodine, and then I put some burn cream on it. And I didn't want the iodine or the cream to get all over the floor, so I put a sock. I wore one sock on my right foot while I was reading this book about the Black Panthers, and I had the Miles Davis playing on my smartphone. So I was living it up in the desert. Oh, and I was sitting inside of a tent, sitting on this air mattress. That air mattress that you see, I took that all the way upstairs to the roof, and I pitched the tent. I put the air mattress inside of the tent. I laid on the air mattress, had my book. I closed the tent so I was protected from the little flies and whatever bugs, and I was just enjoying myself. After work, like reading and eating some Oreos, nursing my foot. I was living it up. This is a picture to show how much I paid for the shoe. Like 1 week after I paid this, I paid like $100 for these shoes. Like less than a week later, let's see, yeah, about a week later, I find that the shoes are $40 cheaper. If I had waited, if I had known, I could have gotten a discount on these shoes, and that pissed me off. Plus, they had red, they had black, and they had blue. But actually, the shoes that I was wearing, the shoes that I bought, it's only the blue pair. These black and red shoes are different styles, so I was happy with the blue ones because I prefer that style, the Nike Free. All right, April 1st, I was ahead of time, right? So April 1st was the same day. I basically, I'm telling you in this picture that a king died. And that's because I had received news that Nipsey Hussle was murdered. So I got this information on April 1st, right? So I was saddened. And then I started posting about my feelings about Nipsey Hussle's murder. And I thought Ice Cube's song on his Death Certificate album, the song entitled Us, it kind of encapsulated, what had happened. Nipsey had been killed by his own people, by his own gang member. And so I was like, Us. That song pretty much sums it up. Ice Cube is talking about, we as a group are our own downfall. And so that pretty much summed up, what happened to Nipsey. I was in my feelings and I went up to the mountains just trying to get away, just trying to get inspiration, inspired, trying to live in the moment, trying to, you know, take on adventures and just get my mind off of such a sad, occurrence. Just some typical stuff for LA, a murder in LA of a rapper. And I thought, man, that's just terrible. And up until that point, I was quite a Nipsey Hussle fan. I hadn't always been, but I thought that he was on this positive trajectory that, I thought it was very important to support him. And it was a miracle, seeing his rise like that. And I just wanted to support him. And so I was in my feelings. I went up to the mountain, to do my thing, gather my thoughts. And I started listening to Nipsey's music, and I was just very much, very impressed with his music and his message. And I just thought it was just such a shame, that he had lost his life. It was just very sad. And then, I got deeper into Nipsey. I was like, man, look, Nipsey had this image of the Black Madonna on his T-shirts. I mean, like, Nipsey was pretty deep. He wasn't just about, rapping just for the money. He had some other messages that he was trying to get out. And this is one of them. This is an example of how Nipsey Hussle was a black liberation, theologist, black liberator. He was about this T-shirt, expresses an idea of a history that is hidden to most of us. Nipsey was sharing that with us, and I thought that was just phenomenal. And I posted about it to remember it. And then the funeral procession. All of this was monumental. It was just unbelievable what was happening, or what was taking place in Los Angeles, in my hometown. I couldn't believe it, and it was just so much. It was just too much. And then, he goes from the Staples Center, he goes to Watts. And look, he went to 108th Street. And that just underscores everything that I've been saying about 108. That was part of the funeral procession. He went to 108th.
You're at 109 right now.
109. I'm the teacher, but I'm teaching you. I need to teach you about 108. That's what it was all about. Oh my goodness. That was part of it. That's something I didn't even remember, didn't even notice until just now. There's just this moment. All right. Dick Gregory. I was listening to Dick Gregory, getting inspired, listening to him talk. And Dick Gregory, the interesting about him was I was in the desert. And while I was listening to Dick Gregory, has been, is, and will be, his voice on this recording, at one point he says the word butterfly. And while I was in the desert, a butterfly appeared, a white butterfly. It was in the exact same moment that the recording of his voice, of Dick Gregory's voice, that I heard butterfly. And Dick Gregory was already dead. He had passed away, I think, 2017. And I was listening to his words, and when I heard, now it was alone, just one butterfly, and that was just unbelievable. Like, how does that happen? Where did that butterfly come from? And how did I see that butterfly when Dick Gregory said it? It was like, wow. Synchronicity comes to mind, you know? So again, I'm in my feelings about, blackness, being black. This is a picture I took in France. Around the time that I went on Ricky Stevenson's Black Paris tours, I went to the Quay Branley Museum, and I took this picture of Afro pics, ancient Afro pics. Undeniable that, ancient peoples were black because there were Afro pics everywhere. They left behind their pics, their hair pics. Oh yes, I was getting into it. Damian Marley, Nas, Tribes at War. This was a reference to Nipsey. Tribes, gangs in Los Angeles are tribes, at war. Marathon OG. This is Nipsey's brand of smoke, of marijuana. Yep, just something that was on my mind. More Nipsey on my mind. This is a quote from A-Lux, a YouTube channel. It says, "Eat with your friends, don't compete with them. You are racing against poverty, not against each other." That's profound. This is the McDonald's where I ate for about a month while I was in Oman. Had to document that. Uh-oh. I hate when that happens. Little zoom in or whatnot. My hair was growing longer. I was getting used to my natural hair. There were beautiful views. The sun is peeking through the clouds, and I snapped this photo. I was driving through Oman here on the roads, on the highway. This is the highway. This isn't the local street near my home. This is the highway. Carter G. Woodson quote again here. "If the Negro in the ghetto must eternally be fed by the hand that pushes him into the ghetto, he will never become strong enough to get out of the ghetto." Right? This is an image I found of a black Jesus, of an Ethiopian. Matter of fact, I think I got this image. I think I got this. No, I didn't get this from. I remember I did not get this from Ethiopia. I found this on the internet. Yeah. They look like they're kind of doing Wakanda things, Wakanda forever poses. I could be wrong. But anyway, it's a black Jesus. So that I was already thinking about Nipsey and black Jesus, putting it all together. Everything seemed to make sense. there was a phoenix rising from the ashes. There was some symbolism in this, and I thought, man, let me post the phoenix. I thought the phoenix represented Nipsey, rising from the ashes, rising from poverty, rising from a lack of education, and still he rose. Still he was able to come out of the fire. Like how does that happen? It's a miracle, right? It's a picture of me when I was a baby, when I was a kid, with my mom. What is this? April 30th? Why did I post this? I just happened to have it. It's just one of those things that you just do. Yeah, that's about it. Family, family, family. Post pictures of family. Yep. Just to reminisce. I guess I was missing family, missing, you know, being so far away from home. Absolutely. That's why I posted it. I was missing family. I was missing home. I don't think I was there. This is what my family was doing. April 30th. Yeah, family got together to celebrate my grandmother's birthday. Her birthday is on St. Patrick's Day, so everyone was wearing green, but I wasn't there. I was in the desert. Here I am in the desert drinking a beer at the local hotel bar. It was all good. So all of my ideas came to the culminated. All my ideas about Nipsey Hussle culminated in this book. I was in the desert. I was gathering my thoughts. My thoughts led me to make an attempt to write a. What was I trying to write? I was trying to write a doggone rap, but it wasn't working out, and so I ended up writing a poem instead. And then the poem told a story, and I decided that I needed the story to fit in a book. I had pictures to support what I was describing in the poem. So I put the pictures, I put the poem together, I put the book together. And then here's the last thing that I'll say. The cover of the book, this white 109 with this on this red cover, that came to me in a dream. Possibly 2 years before I printed this first copy. And I was in Saudi Arabia. I had a number of these instances, these moments when these numbers had stuck out.
You're at 109 right now.
I kept seeing these numbers, and I was like, I've got to document these moments, these strange moments when I see these numbers. I have to document them, and one day I'll put them together and tell a story. And one night or one day, I took a nap and I saw this 109 in white on a red cover. I hopped up, I wrote it down. I said, okay, I know where I'm going to put my stories. I'm going to put them in a book about with this cover. I know what the cover looks like, but I didn't know what the story would be. I didn't know what it was going to be about. I just said, how could I write a story about these isolated incidents when I see these numbers? Like, these numbers mean nothing to me except for, an allusion to my birthday, 10/9, October 9th. But I thought, man, that's a terrible story to write about, until I was in Oman and everything came clear. It seemed to me that the story needed to be about Nipsey Hussle. The story needed to be about not the numbers 109, but the idea that 109 is a calling, and it's the numbers were calling me to tell a story about a significant figure, and that significant figure is Nipsey. And I had to explain, what made him significant and what that was all about. And that is actually the number 108, which is a highly sacred number, which is a number that is connected with Nipsey. And so I'm still on my journey, still trying to put it together, but that's pretty much what happened in Oman. Like, that's where my mind was, and my Instagram feed, my Instagram posts reflect that. All right. So I'm going to end it right here. Peace and blessings. Kobe, let them know.
You're at 109 right now.
Legends never die. Remember that. And peace and blessings.